And that's kind of what I look for. I kind of start looking for signs of, you know, yellowing in the leaves or damage, you know, the flowers starting to fall. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, I'm Kathryn, the Aerogarden Homesteader, and this is the cherry tomato. It is looking quite good. It has, well, obviously it's got this one tomato left on it, but we are starting to get the next set of fruit forming. So I've got a bunch of flowers. They're basically hidden all over the place. It's really hard to find the flowers because they're actually, like, some of them are buried way in the plant. These are just some of the ones that are outside, but yeah, they're just in there. And then there is a bunch of new growth over here. There's some over here still. I mean, it just has pushed out a ton of growth. I don't know if you can see how big it has gotten. It's actually, well, the pepper and the cherry tomato are starting to merge together a little bit. I do wonder if I should have an option for the hole to be on the other side of the Aerogarden. So right now the port's on the left, the hole's on the right. Well, I wonder if that should be different just for situations like this where these are just so close together. It's actually hard to reach this water port, but at the same time, this cherry tomato is basically encroaching into the pepper and vice versa. So I don't know what the best solution to that is. If you keep a lot of plants close together, obviously this could be an issue. Otherwise, if you kind of keep them a little further apart, if it's just a one-off garden, it's probably not an issue. So the trunk or the stem or whatever it's getting really thick under there. I mean, like, really thick. It's incredible. I don't know if you can see how big that's getting. And then, oh my goodness, there's new growth under there too. Jeez. Okay, so obviously gave you a little sneak peek of the pepper I can never remember the name of. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I can never remember the name of this one. But anyways, this is the spicy pepper that I can never remember the name of. It is doing really well. There are lots and lots of flowers. There's some fruit in there. So that's pretty cool. So I wonder if it needs more fertilizer. So if you take a look at this leaf here, it's got some yellowing going on. And I have noticed a few dropped flowers, but for the most part, I'm seeing that there's yellowing in the leaves. I do also wonder if I need to take this branch out. Like, yeah, I just dropped a flower. But if I cut it right here, yeah, I lose a few peppers, but, you know, it's kind of getting out of bounds. But it's growing crazy. So it's just got so many flowers on it. It's really, like, just heavy with flowers. And let's see if we can see what the stem looks like. Yeah, the stem looks really good under there. So it's thicker at the base, and then it kind of branches off with all of the side growth, so it's a little bit thinner up top, but it's a lot thicker at the bottom. So yeah, I think last time I fed was 2 weeks ago. It is feeding time today. That's not what I was struggling to say, but I think last time I gave this 20 ml, and I also gave the cherry tomato 20 ml. I feel like they are probably ready for their next step up, and I could give them 25 ml, and I think they would do quite fine, especially since this one's pushing out a lot of growth, and it's pushing out a lot of, both of them have just a ton of flowers on it. So I think that giving them the extra food would probably benefit them, and that's kind of what I look for. I kind of start looking for signs of, you know, yellowing in the leaves or damage, you know, the flowers starting to fall. I don't look for leaves curling up and dying, because, like, for the most part, because there's going to be some of the older leaves will just sort of die off to make room for the newer leaves. So that's not my sign. My personal sign is to start looking for yellowing of the leaves. And I don't know if you can see the one back there, that nice big one. It's starting to show up some yellowing. And then there's another one way in the back that I'm not sure you can actually see, but it's got a bit of yellowing going on. It's mostly the older, bigger leaves that are doing this, so it hasn't affected the younger leaves yet. So that's why now is probably the time to give it a bit more food. And if I opt to give it a prune, I could do that now as well. It would help scale back on the amount of food it requires. But I think that's such a small amount of pruning that it would need. So I might leave it for now. The other cherry tomato, I did eventually take that down. I mentioned that in the last video, so it is now down. It's the garden is just empty. We want to get all of the little spider mites and stuff gone before putting anything in its spot. So that's normally what we do, is we just let it sit for at least a week. I mean, it's been more than a week, but we normally let it sit at least a week to make sure any bugs that are there have died, basically of starvation, and there's no chance that we'll carry it over into either a new garden or, you know, just the garden harboring bugs from the old plant. So yeah, I try to give it at least a week, but normally I just get a little lazy about it and I give it like 2 weeks. So it just happens, but better safe than sorry. And finally, the jalapeno and the jalapeno gate pepper. So these ones are both doing really well. I am a little bummed that there is a big discrepancy in height. I don't know why they grew so differently. I guess it's just the way the peppers grew. So we got this wax style pepper, is a much squatter plant. It is pushing out new growth and it's doing pretty well. So there's new growth in here, more flowers are starting to form. There's some more growth just basically on the ends of a lot of the, you know, the branches. I've got a couple of peppers still in there. I've kind of been saving them because my son likes to have salsa. Our garden is finally producing tomatoes, enough tomatoes to start making it a worthwhile batch of salsa, so I'm kind of saving these couple of peppers in here so that we can put them in, because he doesn't like spice. So I'm not sure. I might save up the jalapenos and roast them and do something else with them. But in the meantime, they're just kind of sitting there chilling on the vine and just ripening up. But this one is a much, much taller plant. So I do hope that the wax pepper is getting enough light, considering I had to put it all the way up to the top over here. But they are both doing really good. I do think I am going to, they're getting 30 ml. I might bump them up to 40 because I am starting to get a bit of damage going on this plant. So I just want to make sure that any lack of nutrients, so this is the jalapeno, any lack of nutrients that they're starting to experience, I kind of nip that in the bud, because I do see there is a bit of yellowing going on, just the tiniest bit. So it's not as bad as the habanero over there that I finally remember the name of, but it is visible and it is starting to creep in. So I do want to make sure that if I can nip it in the bud, I do, and this is the time to do it since today's plant day, feeding day. So this will get, it was getting 30, I will bump it up to 40 and see how it's going, and hopefully next week or the week after we'll start seeing some changes in it, but I don't know how fast you'd see changes if it's a nutrient deficiency like that, so I don't know, but we will see. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll have some videos up at the end that you might also enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.